Remember that trade war we started? It seemed like a bold move at the time, a way to assert our economic dominance and protect our industries. But now, the consequences are starting to unfold, and they are far from what we anticipated. Yeah, it's not going so well. The initial optimism has given way to a harsh reality. The stock market is showing signs of distress, and business leaders are increasingly anxious about the future. China and Canada just hit back with new tariffs on American goods. These aren't just minor adjustments, they are significant measures designed to hit us where it hurts. These tariffs are basically taxes on things we sell to them. Every product that crosses their borders now comes with an added cost, making it less competitive in their markets. That makes our products more expensive. For consumers in China and Canada, American goods are becoming a luxury they might not be able to afford anymore. This is bad news for American businesses and workers. Companies that rely on exports are seeing their sales plummet, leading to store closures and factory shutdowns. These new tariffs are no joke. They are a strategic move by China and Canada to protect their own economies while putting pressure on ours. They target key American industries like agriculture and manufacturing. These sectors are the backbone of our economy, providing jobs and sustaining communities. Everything from soybeans to cars is feeling the heat. Farmers are struggling to find buyers for their crops, and car manufacturers are facing increased costs and reduced demand. And it's not just big companies that are hurting. Small businesses, which often operate on thin margins, are finding it hard to stay afloat. Small businesses and farmers are getting squeezed too. They don't have the resources to weather this storm, and many are being forced to close their doors. This trade war is a big deal. It's not just a series of headlines. It's a complex and far-reaching issue that affects every aspect of our economy. It's not just about dollars and cents. It's about people's livelihoods. Families are worried about how they will make ends meet, and communities are feeling the strain. Millions of American jobs are on the line. The ripple effects of this trade war are being felt in every corner of the country. We're talking about real people, farmers, factory workers, truck drivers, who could lose their jobs because of this. These are the people who keep our economy running, and they are facing an uncertain future. This isn't a game, folks. The decisions being made in boardrooms and government offices have real consequences for everyday Americans. This is serious stuff that affects all of us. Community meetings are being held to discuss the impacts, and news reports are filled with stories of job losses and economic hardship. So buckle up, because things are about to get bumpy. The road ahead is uncertain, and we need to be prepared for the challenges that lie ahead. This trade war is reshaping our economic landscape, and its effects will be felt for years to come. Why are China and Canada retaliating? Well, it's pretty simple. They feel like we threw the first punch in this ongoing trade conflict. They feel like we threw the first punch. When we imposed those tariffs, it was like setting off a chain reaction. Remember those tariffs we slapped on their goods? It wasn't just a minor inconvenience, it was a significant economic blow to their industries. They didn't like that very much. In fact, it caused a ripple effect that impacted their economies deeply. They see it as unfair. From their perspective, these tariffs are not just economic measures but also political statements. They say we're breaking the rules of international trade. The World Trade Organization has guidelines, and they believe we're not playing by them. And they're not just going to sit back and take it. They have their own economies and workers to protect. They're fighting back the only way they know how, with tariffs of their own. This is their way of leveling the playing field. It's a classic case of an eye for an eye. In the world of international trade, this means a tariff for a tariff. But in this case, it's more like a tariff for a tariff. Each side keeps escalating, hoping to force the other to back down. And the problem with these tit-for-tat trade wars is that nobody wins. Factories close, production lines halt, and small businesses suffer. Everyone gets hurt in the end. The economic downturn affects workers, families, and communities. So, while it might feel good in the short term to get tough with our trading partners, in the long run, it's going to backfire on us. The initial satisfaction of imposing tariffs fades quickly when the economic consequences set in. And who's going to pay the price? The answer is clear. You guessed it, the American worker. The very people these policies are supposed to protect end up bearing the brunt of the fallout. The interconnected nature of global trade means that actions taken by one country can have far-reaching effects. When we disrupt these trade routes, it's not just our trading partners who feel the impact. Economists and trade policy experts warn that these kinds of trade wars can lead to long-term damage to the global economy. The uncertainty they create can deter investment and slow down economic growth. Historically, international trade agreements have been designed to foster cooperation and mutual benefit. When we move away from these principles, we risk undermining the very foundation of global trade. Small businesses, which are often the backbone of local economies, are particularly vulnerable. They rely on stable trade relationships to source materials and sell their products. Farmers and agricultural sectors also suffer. Many of them depend on exports to sustain their livelihoods. When tariffs are imposed, their access to international markets is restricted, leading to surplus and waste. Consumers too feel the pinch. Tariffs can lead to higher prices for everyday goods, from electronics to clothing. This means that the cost of living increases, putting additional strain on household budgets. The political landscape becomes more contentious as well. Trade policies become a hot-button issue, with leaders and lawmakers debating the best course of action. Public sentiment can turn sour, leading to protests and social unrest. People demand solutions and accountability from their governments. The path forward requires international cooperation and diplomatic efforts. It's essential to find common ground and work towards solutions that benefit all parties involved. Ultimately, the goal should be to create a fair and balanced trade system that promotes prosperity and stability for everyone. By working together, we can overcome these challenges and build a brighter future. Let's talk soybeans. They're a big deal, especially for American farmers. China used to be our biggest customer. They bought tons of soybeans to feed their pigs. But then the trade war started. China put big tariffs on American soybeans. Now those soybeans are a lot more expensive in China. Chinese buyers are finding cheaper soybeans from other countries like Brazil. That's bad news for American soybean farmers. Their income is taking a hit. Some farmers are even struggling to stay afloat. And it's not just soybean farmers. The whole agricultural industry is feeling the pain. The trade war is making it harder for American farmers to sell their products overseas. That's a problem because agriculture is a huge part of the American economy. Section 4. Lobster on the line. Trade war hits Maine fishermen hard. Now let's head up north to Maine. Maine is famous for its delicious lobster. People all over the world can't get enough of it. China was a huge market for Maine lobster. But then the trade war hit. China slapped a hefty tariff on American lobster. Suddenly, Maine lobster became a lot more expensive in China. Chinese buyers started looking for cheaper lobster elsewhere. Canadian lobster became a popular alternative. This trade war is putting a real strain on Maine's lobster industry. Lobstermen are struggling to sell their catch. Some are even worried about losing their livelihoods. It's a tough situation for an industry that relies heavily on exports. Section 5. From cars to coal, Midwestern factories feel the pinch. The heartland of America, known for its robust manufacturing sector, is now grappling with unprecedented challenges. Factories that once buzzed with activity are now eerily silent, and the for sale signs are becoming a common sight. The trade war isn't just hurting farmers and fishermen. While the plight of these groups has been widely reported, there's another critical sector that's feeling the strain. It's also hitting American manufacturers hard, particularly in the Midwest. This region, often referred to as the backbone of American industry, is experiencing a significant downturn. Take the auto industry, for example. Once a symbol of American ingenuity and strength, it now faces a myriad of challenges. Steel and aluminum are crucial for making cars. These materials form the very foundation of the vehicles we drive every day. But those materials are now more expensive thanks to tariffs. The increased costs are a direct result of the ongoing trade disputes. This makes it more costly to manufacture cars in the U.S. The ripple effect of these price hikes is felt throughout the entire production process. That's bad news for American car makers and their workers. The increased production costs are squeezing profit margins and leading to tough decisions. Some companies are even considering moving their production overseas where costs are lower. This potential shift could have devastating effects on local economies. And it's not just the auto industry that's suffering. Other sectors, like coal, are also feeling the pinch. The coal industry, which provides many jobs in states like West Virginia and Pennsylvania, is also feeling the squeeze. These states have long relied on coal mining as a primary source of employment. The tariffs are making American coal less competitive in the global market. As international buyers look elsewhere for cheaper alternatives, American coal producers are left struggling to find new markets. The impact of these economic challenges extends beyond the factories and mines. Entire communities are feeling the effects, with local businesses suffering and families facing financial uncertainty. Small businesses that once thrived on the patronage of factory workers are now closing their doors. Main streets that were once bustling with activity are now eerily quiet. In response, communities are coming together to support one another. Local leaders are organizing rallies and support groups to help those affected by job losses. Efforts are also being made to retrain workers and help them transition to new industries. Job fairs and skill development programs are being set up to provide new opportunities. Despite the challenges, there is a sense of hope. Many believe that with the right support and initiatives, the Midwest can rebuild and emerge stronger than before. The resilience of these communities is a testament to the American spirit. As they navigate these tough times, there's a collective determination to ensure that the future of American manufacturing remains bright.